Hello and welcome to the RTV studio on the campus of Martinsville High School for the first edition, the sectional edition of Inside Martinsville Wrestling. I'm your host, Nate Long. I'm joined alongside by head wrestling coach Aaron Johnson. How are you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for being here. Yeah. So, sectional's coming up, but let's look back on the season. How did this season go? This is your first year coaching the team. Just talk a little bit about how the season has gone overall.
Well, I think our season went phenomenal. We went 20-3 as a dual team, which is first time in Martinsville history they've ever had 20 wins as a dual. We had placed fifth at the Holiday Classic, which was a big finish for us. That's the highest we've ever finished as well. And then we took third to Mid-State Classic, which is our conference tournament. So that was we had a good showing really there. And then we finished the season up at the Franklin Duels. We were runner-up to Franklin, which is a 3A powerhouse as well, and they took fourth at 3A State. So I think we kind of held our own through the season. So we did a great job. Great job.
And so that's the season preview. Going to sectional time, there's a few really good team sectionals. Can you talk a little about kind of the atmosphere that this is going to be, this sectional?
Yeah, so it is predicted that our sectional is the toughest sectional in the state. We draw on the Center Grove, which is a 6A powerhouse in most sports. In wrestling, they really only class at 4 classes, but they're on the top 4A, and then we're like a 3A school. So they're probably our toughest competition. And then we have Monrovia, which is a pretty good little school. They're 2A, but they have some solid single wrestlers, Mooresville, Whiteland, and Cascade, a couple of the smaller schools. They're pretty dominant in wrestling as well. So our sectional is definitely a bear dealing with Center Grove. So,
so there's a lot of wrestlers. Everyone has a weight class. We're not going to talk about every wrestler today, right, but let's talk about some of the main ones. Start off with the 106. Yep. Dalen Lane, the freshman. Talk a little about him. His season's gone, and we hope to see him in sectionals.
Yeah, so he's a fourth, fifth seed right now. So the fourth and fifth guys wrestle each other. He's had 20 wins this year. He has a tough road, but I do see him finishing in the top 3, top 4. Top 4 make it out. So he may fall early on in the tournament, but he'll have an opportunity to wrestle back, and I think that he'll get in the top 3, top 4 for sure, and move on to the regional tournament the next weekend. So. For sure.
Okay, and then moving up now to a 113-pound, Brenan Leonard, he's the 9th in the state, a junior. He already has 50-plus wins overall. Just talk about how his season is and then going into this sectional.
Yeah, so Brenan last year, he made it to semi-state, but he had a short season because he had a knee injury. He got that knee rehabbed, and he's had a phenomenal year. He's got 25-plus wins. Ranked number 1 in our sectional right now. So I think for sure he'll probably have one of the Ash brothers in the finals from Monrovia. He's beat him earlier on this season. So I think he can come out as a sectional champion and move on to regionals as a number 1. So I think he's got a good shot to get to semi-state and state this year.
And now moving down to 126, Nathan Crawford, the sophomore. He has about 20-plus wins so far in the season. Talk a little about his season.
Yeah, so he's pretty new to wrestling. He's only been wrestling for a couple years. He's had an up-and-down season, but he's actually come on there towards the end. He had a really big win last week against Franklin Community. I think it showed that he has potential to get out of sectionals this week. He's just sitting at a 5 seed, but again, just like Dalen, I think he's going to have an opportunity to wrestle back and get into that top 3, top 4 scenario and move on to regionals.
And then moving on, 132 weight, you got Corbin White here, junior, 50-plus wins overall his career.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little about how his season's gone, and then obviously the sectional.
Corbin's come on pretty good as of late. He had a third place finish at the Mid-State. He beat a kid that had beat him early on in the tournament from Perry Meridian, and he's made him seed top 3 here at the sectional tournament. So I think unless something bad were to happen to him, he's going to finish in the top 3 for sure. I see him being in the finals against Eddie Goss from Center Grove, and that's a good matchup for us. So I think we're going to be moving on to the regional tournament in the top 2 seed there. So.
Okay, so moving on to the 144-pound weight class, Jonathan Fuller, a sophomore. Just talk about how his season's gone.
Yeah, he's had an up and down season, but again, like one of those guys that grinds and fights every match. And he's got a little bit of a tough weight class. He's got a winnable first match, and then second match he's going to come up against state runner-up Reese Courtney. But I think, if we falter in that scenario, we'll come back through. So the sectionals, you get an opportunity to wrestle back if you lose a match in the quarterfinals or above. So I think he's going to have an opportunity to come back and take third and fourth place out of there and move himself on to regionals as well.
Okay, and then moving on to 157, Evan Hamlin. I know he had that first place, I believe, in Mid-State.
Yes.
He's 16th in the state right now, seeded. He's a junior. Got 60-plus wins so far in his career. How has this season gone?
He has wrestled phenomenal. His only losses are the top two, top three guys in the state. He's going to see one of them this weekend. It should be a finals match. Evan is the number 2 seed going in. He's going to wrestle Silas Stitz in the finals probably. And more or less, I think he has an opportunity to beat Silas and get himself a number 1 seed going into regionals. But yeah, he's wrestling phenomenal right now. Having that win at Mid-State really built his confidence, and I think he realizes that he's where he needs to be. So he's going to have a good tournament.
Okay, and then moving up now, 165, Shane Morgan Harris, a sophomore. How has this season gone, and a little bit into the sectional too?
So he's kind of shared time with Coleman Dittermore at 165. He's out on the lighter side at 157, but he actually got himself a pretty good draw. He's going to be the 5th seed coming out, but he has a very winnable match, his first round match against a 4 seed from Center Grove. And I think he wins that. He gets himself into the semifinals. If he has a bad match in the semifinals, I do believe that he's going to be in the top 3, top 4 coming out of sectionals and move himself on the regionals. He's another one that can surprise a lot of people. So I think he's going to do that this weekend.
And then 175, Noah Sumner, ranked 14th right now, seeded in the state, has 80-plus wins over his career. Just talk about the junior, how he's done this year.
Yeah, so he's one of our captains, him and Evan both, and Brenan, and he's led that role phenomenally on the mat and off the mat. And I say this weekend, short of being in the finals, he's going to have a tough opponent in the finals, Noah Klauser, a returning state qualifier. But I think that that's going to be a tough match for both of them. And I think we could come out on the top side of that one as well. And he's going to move himself on to regionals. And I see him as being a state qualifier this year. So, I think even if he were to lose in the finals this weekend, him and the Noah Klauser from Center Grove are going to be moving on through pretty high up into the tournament. So they're probably going to be fighting at regionals and semi-state for the championship. So I think he's got, probably potential three matches with the same kid in the finals. Mm-hmm. So if we don't get him this weekend, we'll get him next weekend. If we don't get him next weekend, we'll get him at semi-state when it matters. So we'll be all right. I think he's definitely going to be a state qualifier.
And then moving on to 190, another guy ranked high in the state, ranked actually 8th in the state, is Ezra Frederick, the junior. He's been injured a lot of his career, so how is it, having him come back, having actually a full year? He's
been a very positive mind this year. He got a concussion his freshman year and didn't wrestle the second half of the year. And then last year he had to sit out because of his head injury. And then this year coming back, he's just been kind of refreshed. And I think he's enjoying wrestling now. And it's really shown on the mat. He's wrestling free. He did get the 3rd seed, but I think he's got a winnable match in the semifinals, and it should take him into the finals. And, he's going to have a tough match in the finals with the returning state placer, runner-up last year, Kay McConnell. But I do think that between those two is going to be very similar to what happens at 175, is that those two are going to meet each other quite a bit in the state tournament and move up through into the state. So regardless of how it goes this weekend, I think he's going to find himself in the finals. And he's going to have an opportunity to go on to state, which is great for a kid who's sat for 2 years, basically. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, he's one of my favorite guys to watch. So.
Gotcha. So now we're going to move it on to a little bit of the bigger guys.
Yep.
215, Dominic Merc, the junior, 50-plus wins overall in his career. Talk a little about how his season's gone and going to sectionals.
Yeah, so Dom's had a great season. Unfortunately, he didn't get the number 1 seed this weekend. Guy had a little bit better record, but he's got a definitely winnable match his first 2 rounds, and then he should be getting into the finals. And I think if that kid that seeded number 1 is in the finals, I think we can beat him for sure, based on stats and what I've seen from Dom this season. So I have no doubt that Dom pulls a championship this weekend out and moves on to regionals. So, and once he does that, I think it's going to be a clear path for him to get to state. So as long as he does his job this weekend, which I know he's all prepared to do it, he's going to have an opportunity to really kind of show people where he's at in the state. So unfortunately, he's not ranked, but I think he's one of those guys right there on the cusp of being ranked in the state. So.
Gotcha. And then now we're going to jump another 70 pounds. The final one, the 285 weight class, Grayson Sperling, the junior, has about 40-plus wins overall in his career. Talk about his season's gone, wrestling up in weight.
Oh, yeah,
really,
absolutely.
In the sectionals.
Yeah, Grayson weighs anywhere between 198 and 205, so to wrestle 275, 285 pound weight class is just amazing. He had a slow start to the season just because he was trying to adjust to the big boys, but he pulled himself a 3 seed this weekend because he got a couple wins late in the season that got him a higher seed. And again, I think even if he were to lose a match in a sectional tournament, he's willing to fight himself back through and get a top 3, top 4 seed going into regionals. So, I mean, I'm super proud. That kid's got a lot of heart, man, to wrestle up 80 pounds, every week. So I definitely see Grayson moving on to regionals.
So, that's all the wrestlers, that, the top ones that we think, great chance of going on. So how does that feel, as a first-year coach, in this Martinsville, having all these wrestlers being able to move on or have a chance to move on? Yeah. How does that feel?
I mean, honestly, so we try to build a positive atmosphere, family-like atmosphere in the room, and all the boys. I mean, we have a very close-knit group of wrestlers. We don't have any seniors on the team, mostly juniors, sophomores. We got a few freshmen in there, and they all kind of bond together, and it's really good. Some of the guys that have experience are able to lead. Some of the guys that don't have as much experience, and for me as a first-year coach, I couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, I came into this program, had coached J.R. Wooden, a lot of these kids before, and I was able to come up here to the high school and see this through, and it's going to be an awesome finish to this season and a great next season, I think. So I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be involved in these kids' lives, and I'm happy that they have a positive attitude moving into the sectional tournament. So it's great.
Well, good luck to you, Coach.
Thank you.
Sectional is going to be at Mooresville. Going to start at 9 a.m. this Saturday. So if you'd like to come out, support the wrestlers, come out and cheer them on. Thank you again, Coach, for coming out, being on the show. Hopefully, could happen regional next week.
Absolutely, I'll be here.
So we'll see you next time inside Martinsville Wrestling.